Hello everyone, my name is Fortune Chasi. I'm Mazowe South Member of Parliament since 2013 and I'm a lawyer by training. I love working with young people. I grew up during times when your progression was determined by race. And for example, I couldn't live here in Mount Pleasant, and I couldn't go to certain schools, and that's how it was. Life was extremely difficult. So the coming of independence brought considerable relief on which we must build. Conceptually, it's a bit difficult for young people to understand where we've come from, and to some degree it's somewhat unfair to expect them to understand. And the fact that they may not understand is really an indictment on the adult people who have not schooled the youngsters in that respect. So, because it's very important for all of us to understand where we're coming from, because it impacts the present and will also affect the future. So I think that young people are fairly positively minded. But look, if you come from the era of Chaminuka, I wasn't there. So it's very difficult for me psychologically to understand what life was like then. And so it takes a lot of education and supply of information to young people, and also setting the correct examples for them to see where we've come from and be determined to, sustain the momentum built by those who fought to liberate the country. Otherwise, without that, really, they don't understand what it is that we're talking about. From this interview, I'm going off to Mbare to meet other young business people. You mentioned what the great commander of the Liberation Forces, Comrade Tongogara, said, that, and he said it very emphatically and graphically, that the purpose of our independence, it was not a racial war. The whole idea really is that we pull all our human resources together, regardless of color and creed. And I believe in that ethos, that if we want the best for our country, we must maximize on everything that is there, which means we must be united as a people and take advantage of the skills that we find across the board. If you look at race, we must make sure that our soccer teams, our cricket teams benefit from the talent that we've got across the board. I believe that the time for young people to progress and succeed is now, and that we need to create the necessary congenial environment for them to prosper. The reason why I'm visiting young business people is because their works have not really been in the public domain. And it has been very interesting and exciting for me to see that we have so many young people who have not received any formal training in business, but who are sustaining themselves on business. Some of them have started with basically nothing and worked so hard to build just a basic business, and some of them are quite big business people. So I think the point really is we tend to think of young people in futuristic terms, like they're the ones who are going to inherit, but they're living now. That's the point really. What is it that we can do in the now so that young people can prosper and benefit from their own sweat, not just for themselves, but also benefit the country. So I think that is possible, and we need to be passionate about that, creating opportunities for them. There could be business opportunities. There could also be leadership opportunities, because there are things that I think young people can lead better than older people. So we need to identify those. If you look at technology, for example, I still grapple with basic TV issues, remote issues. But when I call my little girl who will not, have trouble at all sorting it out. So we need to understand that there are things that young people can be good at. It's not just technology, but even just proper management or leadership of an institution. We've got to desist or move away from the philosophy that young people don't know much. Some of their knowledge is innate, it's within them, so it can be utilized. So in Zimbabwe, you tend to see an apparent conflict between young and old, and I don't see why and how that arises, because life is really a collaboration between young and old. You can get taught by a young person, but the young person also needs to understand that the older person has got a wealth of experience. We cannot build our country on the basis of divisions. For example, we cannot cut up Zimbabwe into tribes or regions and expect to be a competitive entity. We're a unitary state, we must be together. But in that togetherness, we will recognize that people in this region have got this culture. We promote it as much as possible, promote their culture, promote their food and their way of doing things. So the fact that you can have these subtle divisions, so to speak, does not mean that we must then be divided and conflictual in the way that we relate. We just need to be respectful of each other's origins and the way they do their things, and I think we'll prosper. But so I think the fundamental point is that we must put our country first. You can't have petty parochial intentions to benefit just yourself and hope that we'll build a country on that basis. We can't. We've got to be together. I'm a product of the liberation struggle, a product of the liberation of the country. I think by the time the war ended, I could have gone to join. In fact, at our school, we planned to escape to Mozambique. So I understand perfectly well the need for one to be committed to their country, because there are people who did not have education because they joined the struggle at 16. They are still here. It's not like it's history of centuries ago. They are actually living now. They left at a very tender age. So the primary driver in my energies and approach to the way I do things is also to play a positive role and to move with my little contribution in conjunction with others, the country to another level. So you can't do that if you're motivated by greed and the desire for self-aggrandizement. You want just you to live well to the detriment of others. And so that is the way I look at things. I believe that once you get into some space, you want to be passionate about it and put as much energy as you can. And so that's how I try and work.